You seen the title in the thumbnail, so you already know what's on the menu today. We're gonna do some New Orleans style beef and grits. I know you guys gonna enjoy this one, so get in your kitchen, let's go. All right, guys, let's do a quick rundown of what we're gonna use for today's recipe. I know this looks like a lot, but we're doing it a different way than just regular beef and grits. We're gonna braise our short ribs, so we want that beef really, really tender, and we wanna get as much flavor as we can, so we're gonna use these particular ingredients. Let's go ahead and get started. Right here, we have our short ribs back here. We have some beef broth. In here, I have some red and green peppers, some celery. We have that W sauce here. We have our grits, some chopped onions, some cheddar cheese, chopped garlic, tomato paste. Now right here, I'm gonna use some bourbon. Now if you don't wanna use bourbon, you can use some red wine. If you don't wanna use red wine or bourbon, just leave it out. Right here we have some diced tomatoes. I drained them, some Cajun seasoning, some brown sugar, and we're gonna use a little flour. So these are the ingredients, guys. It's gonna move fast, so don't get discouraged by what you see. The only challenge is prepping all of it. Once you get it prepped, man, you're just gonna go for it and you're gonna run right through the recipe. All right, let's get started. All right, so to get started, we're going to season our short ribs with some Cajun seasoning. So I got about a tablespoon here, maybe a little bit over a tablespoon. But of course, just eyeball it, guys. And use as much as or as little as you want. That's totally up to you. We're gonna come behind that with just a little flour. You know, we just want to get these babies not actually fully coated in flour, but just a light little coating on them. All right, so that's what we have. Now we're gonna move over to our cooktop and we're gonna get these babies into our frying pan. So now we're at our cooktop. We're gonna heat up some olive oil, bring it up to a medium-high temperature. Once your oil reaches that smoke point, you want to start adding your short ribs. And guys, you're going to want to cook these in batches because you don't want to overcrowd it. And we're going to cook them till they're brown on both sides, maybe like 2 to 3 minutes per side. All right, so as these continue to be the way we want it, I'm gonna start pulling them out like this one. This one is done. This is the look that I wanted. Brown on both sides. We're just gonna add them to an empty dish right here and set them aside while the rest of them are cooking. So I'm gonna go ahead and do all of them and get them done, and then we're gonna come back once they're all done. All right, so we're coming up on our last batch, so I'm gonna pause our heat, and I'm just gonna go ahead and remove these from our pan. Guys, this is what we have. Take a look at that. All right, so now we're gonna take about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Unpause our heat. We're gonna get that heated up. I did leave some of the oil in the pan from the short rib just to keep some of that flavor in there. Now we're gonna add our onions, our celery, our peppers, and our garlic. And we're gonna cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes. We just wanna get them softened. Now they don't have to be cooked all the way through because they are going to cook in the slow cooker, but we just wanna get them kind of softened and get some of that flavor on it from those short ribs, the grease from the short ribs. All right, so after that 3 minutes, what you want to do is add your diced tomatoes and your tomato paste, and you want to get that mixed up for another 2 minutes. All right, guys, we are 2 minutes in. I'm gonna hit our veggies with a little salt. Turn off our heat. Now we're gonna move over to our crock pot. All right, so now we're at the crock pot. We're gonna start adding our short ribs. Now we're gonna add our veggie mixture. our beef broth, our brown sugar, W sauce, our bourbon or red wine, and we're gonna do some more Cajun seasoning in here. All right, we're just gonna cover this up, 7 hours, guys. We're gonna come right back. We're gonna cook it on low, or you could do 4 to 6 hours, or 4 to 5 hours on high, all right? See you in 7. All right, so we are about 7 hours in. So let me remove our veil. Guys, take a look at what we have here. And you wanna make sure that these babies are fork tender when you pull them out. Look at that, and they're tender, look at that. Pull that piece of meat off right there. Nice and tender. All right, so now I'm gonna put this on warm. I'm gonna let it sit in the crock pot. We're gonna move over to our stove top and we're gonna start preparing our grits, all right? All right, guys, so now we're at our stove top. Right here, I have about 5 cups of water right here that I'm heating up to boil. Once it comes up to boil, we're gonna start adding a little salt and then we're gonna get our grits in there, all right? All right, so now that our water is coming up to boil, we're gonna go ahead and add our salt. Next, we're gonna come behind that with our grits. I'm using about a cup of grits. We're gonna reduce our heat down to low. We're gonna get these babies stirred in. We're gonna cover it up with a lid. We're gonna let that baby cook for about 20 minutes, all right? All right, guys, so we are 20 minutes in. Let's take a look at our grits. Oh man, this is how I like my grits, man. I don't like them real thick or too watery, either just like I like them. So we're gonna turn our heat off. We're gonna add our butter in there, some pepper, and we're gonna start stirring in, adding our cheese. And we're gonna get this stirred in here until that cheese melts and that butter also. Look at that color changing. All right, guys, let's go ahead and head over to our cutting board so we can look at the final presentation. There you have it, guys. Beef and grits. Let me know what you think about this recipe in the comment section below. Also, let's jump into the quality control because it's time to test it out. Y'all ready? Let's go. All right, guys, we're here for quality control. I got my beef and grits here. Man, let's go ahead and taste these grits, man. That New Orleans style, that Cajun flavor on these cheese grits, man. Woo. It's hot, I gotta be careful, man. Oh, man, let's try some of this short rib. Ooh, boy. Oh. Tender, tender, tender. You can use any kind of beef you want, really, sirloin, chuck roast, or the short rib. You know, we just stepped it up a little bit because I had some short ribs, so I wanted to use that short rib. So you could, like I say, you could definitely use sirloin if you want to, or some chuck roast, doesn't matter. Also, you don't even have to put it in the slow cooker. You could put it in an Instant Pot, or you put it in the pressure cooker, or you could put it on your stove and let it simmer for about 2 or 3 hours. But you want to make sure that your beef is fork tender. I just wanted to put it in that crock pot because I love the way beef comes out in a crock pot, especially when I want it tender like this. So, to the end, I'm your cook, Spinell, all wings, everything, guys. And remember, I'm not a chef, just cook a lot. And now I'm out. Peace.